All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about the absolute foundation of the English language. We're going to explore the words we use to name literally everything in our world, from the people we love to our most creative ideas. So think back, way back. When a baby starts to talk, what's usually the very first word they say? It's often something simple, something they can see and point to. Yep, you guessed it. It's almost always a noun. Words like mama, dada, or ball. And there's a really good reason for that. Nouns are literally the essential building blocks we use to construct our sentences and our whole understanding of the world. Okay, so if we're going to build with these things, we need a blueprint, right? So let's start with the absolute basics. What is a noun anyway? You probably remember this one from school. A noun is just a word that names a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. It's basically a label for everything. And as you can see here, that covers a lot of ground. You've got the stuff you can literally point to. People like Ollie, places like London, things like a book. But then you have the really powerful stuff, the ideas, things like love or freedom. Nouns give a name to concepts you can't even touch. All right, so not all bricks are the same, right? A builder uses different shapes and sizes for different parts of a wall. Well, nouns are exactly the same. Let's dig into the main types. First up, we've got common nouns versus proper nouns. This one's pretty straightforward. A city is a common noun. It's a general category. But Paris, that's a proper noun. It's specific, it's unique, and you gotta capitalize it. It's the difference between saying a teacher and Mr. Smith. Next, we have countable and uncountable nouns. And the easiest way to figure this out is to ask yourself, can I put a number in front of it? You can have 1 apple, you can have 3 chairs, no problem. Those are countable. But can you have 3 informations or 5 milks? Nope. That sounds weird, right? That's because they're uncountable. Okay, now for concrete versus abstract. This is all about your 5 senses. Can you see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, or smell it? A dog? Yep. Music? You can hear it. A table? You can touch it. Those are all concrete. But what about honesty or hope? You can't touch hope. Those are ideas, feelings, qualities. They're abstract. And then there are these really cool nouns called collective nouns. They're like a little linguistic shortcut. Instead of saying a bunch of players, you just say a team. Instead of a group of birds, you say a flock. It's one word that stands for the whole group. Super efficient. All right, so our building blocks have to be pretty versatile. We need to be able to talk about just one thing or a whole bunch of things. And that's where singular and plural nouns come in. Look, most of the time, you just slap an S on the end and you're good to go. Book becomes books. Easy, but, English is complicated. It has all these weird exceptions. So you get these rules like adding ES to box to make boxes or changing Y to I's for baby. And then you have the totally irregular ones like man becomes men that you just kind of have to know. Okay, so we've got all our different kinds of bricks. We know how to make more of them. Now for the big question. What do they actually do in a sentence? It's time to start building the wall. Check out this super simple sentence. The cat sleeps. The action is sleeps, right? But who or what is doing the sleeping? It's the cat, of course. So in this sentence, the noun cat is the subject. Think of it as the star of the show. It's the one making things happen. This is probably the most important job a noun can have. Okay, how about this one? I saw a dog. The person doing the action, the subject, is I. The action is saw, so what is being seen? What's on the receiving end of that action? That's right, it's the dog. The dog isn't doing anything here. The action is happening to it. So we call the noun dog the object. It's the second biggest job for a noun. All right, one more for you. She is a doctor. Our subject is she, and we've got this little verb is. So what does the noun doctor do here? It's not receiving an action. In this case, doctor is what we call a complement. It doesn't get an action done to it. Instead, it just renames or describes the subject. It completes our understanding. Who is she? She is a doctor. It links right back to the subject. All right, let's put it all together now. We've looked at the different kinds of bricks. We've looked at the jobs they do. Now let's see how they build a final structure by breaking down one complete sentence. Okay, here's our sentence. Mr. Smith gave the students new information. It seems pretty basic on the surface, but it's actually loaded with different nouns, and every single one has a very specific role to play. And here's the breakdown. Mr. Smith, that's a proper noun, and he's the subject, the one doing the giving. Then you have students. That's a common noun, and they're an object receiving that action. And finally, information. That's an abstract, uncountable noun, and it's also an object. You see, each piece fits perfectly to build the meaning of the sentence. So, you see, getting a handle on nouns isn't just about passing a grammar test. It's about understanding the absolute core components we use to shape our thoughts, to share our ideas, to literally build the world with our words. So the real question is, now that you know the building blocks, what are you going to build?